Hey, how you doing, wonderful people? So, I just I just had something on my mind and I just wanted to share this. I call it just something to consider. There's a lot of talk about privilege. And I mean, specifically, of course, we're talking about typically when you think about privilege, you think about white privilege. Um, and there's a lot of kind of people are saying, hey, but I have my struggles too, and so on and so forth. And of course, everybody has struggles, everybody has scars. That's, my whole platform is I've got scars, baby. So I wanted to talk about privilege, but I want to talk about it in a different way. Because I believe that we all have privilege in some form or fashion. Um, and I'll use myself as an example. I have privilege. I'm a burn survivor, but I can also cover up my scars. So technically, that could be considered a privilege because, it's not on another part of my body. It's not on my face. So, being able, that doesn't mean that I haven't, had issues with my scar. That doesn't mean I didn't have the surgeries. It doesn't mean that I didn't have to wear compression vests and, had injections and all. That doesn't take away from what I've been through in my life. But I still have the privilege of being able to hide it. And so when I think about privilege, I believe that with privilege, there comes responsibility. And so I'll use this as an example. A lot of people, like I said, everybody has privilege in some form or fashion. If you are able to walk, you have privilege because there's someone that may not be able to walk. That doesn't mean that you're bad for being able to walk, right? But it doesn't mean that the person who cannot walk is bad. No, nobody's bad. There's nothing wrong with either scenario. And so when I think about the concept of privilege and responsibility, I believe that I imagine going to a mall, right? You're going to a mall. A lot of times you would drive around the parking lot in order to find a space. And imagine if it's just one of those days where you can't find a parking space. And so you can't find a parking space. And so what do? You're just like, okay, well, if you can walk, you're going to pass by these handicap spaces, right? Typically, you're just going to have to pass by. You're going to have to park across the street somewhere. It's inconvenient, but you don't want to take a handicap space because somebody might need that, right? Now, some people might, but I'm saying typically you're gonna have to hike, okay? And so that's inconvenient, but at the same time I can walk. So I say I get to the entrance of the mall at the same time as a person who's in a wheelchair. Now I'm just using this as an example. Typically, just because of the way I was raised, I'll open up the door for the person and allow the person to go in before me. That's just, it's just, hey, it just seems like, okay, cool. I just want to open up the door for the person. Now, here's where having the privilege can come with a certain level of responsibility. One, I had to hike. I had to walk further because there weren't any spaces available for me. and I open the door for someone because, hey, that's just how I was raised, right? That right there is just extending compassion towards somebody and just being there for someone. I just look at that as just a part of life, right? Now imagine if that person that I opened the door for is a white person and I walk into this mall, and as soon as I get into the mall, a security guard comes up to me and accuses me of theft. And say that person accused me of theft because it was racially motivated for whatever reason. I'm just using this as an example. And then that white person says, hey, no, she just opened the door for me. She just got in here. I don't know what's going on. And say I'm somewhere where they just don't like black people, and it doesn't matter what I say. Of course, that's not okay, but I'm just throwing out examples, right? And so that person then uses their privilege of whiteness so that I'm not over here getting arrested for something that I didn't do. I use my privilege of opening the door for the person and making sure I don't park in their space because that's just not what I should do. And we look out for one another. That's using your privilege, right? And sometimes using your privilege is just that. It can be inconvenient. Walking an extra distance because somebody needed something additional to get to where they're going. It's just that comes with your privilege. That just comes with your privilege. So this concept of, I know affirmative action for some people was just, why do we have to do it like this? And I work hard too, and so on and so forth. Well, yeah, we all work hard. That, if I'm having to walk a mile to get to a store because there's no parking and I just got off a long day of work, that doesn't mean that I didn't work hard. And it doesn't mean that but at the same time I can walk, is what I'm saying. So it's kind of like there's a responsibility that comes with the privilege that you have. And we all have it. Like, you have the privilege, some people have the privilege to hear, some people have the privilege to see, some people have the privilege to walk. Some people have the privilege to breathe. You have breath in your body. You don't need assistance. So let's understand. But so when you have a certain level of privilege, then there's also a certain level of responsibility. As a burn survivor, I can cover mine up, okay? Yeah. Doesn't negate that I've been through some things, okay? That doesn't mean that I haven't suffered or felt bad. Like, I didn't look at myself in the mirror until I was 25 years old, and I was burned at 18 months. I suffered mentally, emotionally, even physically, but I still have a responsibility to show up and to embrace my scars and to do what I can to help others, And that's what I mean when we're talking about responsibility, is just using what you have to help somebody else who may not have that, who may not be able to experience the things you're able to experience because the world is just the way it is right now. Nobody wants a handout. Not typically. People want to live their lives and be free and experience love, to be loved for who they are, and to support their families and all that kind of stuff. Nobody wants to experience lack because of something they can't help, because of how they were born, because of who what, nobody wants to feel weird about that stuff. But when you are able to move freely in a manner in which someone else is not, then that is a privilege. And so in those moments, even if they are inconvenient for you, even if that means, yeah, this person got the job, but you know what? Guess what? They got that one job that you might have the opportunity to get 20 other jobs simply because of a certain privilege that you didn't ask for. And that's okay. It is what it is. If I have to walk 2 miles to get into a mall because I'm not going to go and park in a handicap space, that's okay. That's all right. That's my duty, to make room for my brother or sister who needs that assistance. And that's all it's about. So when I think about privilege, that's what I think about. I think about, you just do something for somebody because, hey, they need that assistance. If you're tall, I've had a roommate before, and I'm 5'5", and she's 5 feet tall, and she couldn't reach something on a higher shelf. Guess what I did? I pulled it down off the shelf. That's what we do for each other. We pull stuff down off the shelf for each other. We go out of our way for people. That's what we do. And it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't make you bad for having privilege. Having privilege isn't bad because we all have them, just like we all have scars. And if you have a particular scar, maybe your scars, maybe someone's helped you out. Someone had a privilege that you didn't have, and they shared an opportunity with you. That's what we do. So, yeah, let's look at privilege a little bit different. And let's embrace the privilege and embrace the responsibility that come with that privilege. All right. Peace and blessings and love to you all.